Veterans Day means to me, personally, is that we should remember all those that have lost their lives or have fought or have lost loved ones, even the family of the people that lost loved ones, because it's a great sacrifice. It's a sacrifice for the person that's leaving their family to go out and fight and die, because a lot of them die. And then it's a great sacrifice for the family themselves, because you're talking about children without fathers or mothers. You're talking about wives without their husbands or the support that they need. So we should remember all those that have served, because it is a great sacrifice. It really is.
To me, Veterans Day is a day when we can thank everyone who went before us to defend freedom and democracy around the world. You know, it's an opportunity to stop and reflect on all of the things that we have in this country and realize that none of that came just out of luck. People fought for it, people died for it, and so it's an opportunity to really thank everyone that basically gave us what we have today.
Veterans Day means a day to remember, a day to say thank you, a day to be grateful that people actually served, did their time, protecting the country.
What does Veterans Day mean to me? On Veterans Day, I have kind of a nice time because my family makes kind of a big deal about me, and it's kind of fun to be the center of everything. And as it turns out, there's not too many veterans in my family anymore, so I get to be the center of stuff. It's kind of fun. And it's also a chance for me to reflect on my past and some of the experiences I had and some of the friendships I forged. And I normally get a couple of phone calls on that day and give a couple of phone calls to people I haven't talked to for a while. So it's just kind of a nice reflective time for me.
Okay, Veterans Day what it means to me is it's a day for people to take and stop and reflect on the sacrifices that all of the people who have served in the armed services have given to our country. Those people who have served at their time and done 4 years, or if they've done 20 years, some of our fellow sailors, airmen, and Marines, and soldiers who never came home. And we need to reflect on that, and we need to pay homage and respect for those people.
Veterans Day to me, not only to me but to my family, is a very special day that you honor those that have served our country, whether you're in the Army, Air Force, Navy, Marine, or Air National Guard. It's a time to reflect and give thanks, and to honor those individuals, that have served our country.
Veterans Day to me is a time that we set aside in our country to think about and remember and honor all of the people who have served in the military, and not just the people who have possibly lost their life or given the supreme sacrifice, but also all of the family members that accompany the military when they go to different locations in the world to serve their country, to protect all of us. So it's a day for us to stop and remember those people.
A story that I always remember, we had fire watch, which was we had to stay up and keep track of our Marines, and it's kind of like night patrol for us. And I remember I did fire watch from 10 till 12, and then at 12 I went to bed, and I slept under this tarp with my tank rounds, and there was a hole in the tarp. And I remember that I woke up because I was so cold, and because it had rained and the water had pulled in the tarp, and then it was just dripping inside my thing. So I had to literally change everything in the middle of the night during the rain inside of a back of a 5-ton because it had gotten so wet and it was so cold. So I ended up getting like only 2 hours of sleep, but nothing can take that experience away from me, from just being out there. It's kind of like a free shower, just freezing. But I never ever regretted joining the military, never, or joining the Marine Corps. It was such an awesome thing. For every platoon of women that they have, because I know me and our sister platoon graduated, for every 50 female Marines, there's like, I'm going to say thousands or 2,000 male Marines that graduate. We're very small in number. That's why they call us the legends, or they call us, there's something else. When people hear that we're Marines, they're really freaked out about it, because girls don't usually join the military or join the Marine Corps. So it was awesome.
One thing that I'll never forget from my time in the service was when I deployed to Kuwait. When I left, my daughter was about 9 months old and just barely starting to pull herself up on the couch and all of that. And when I came back 8 months later, she was walking up and down the stairs at the airport. And on the one hand, I felt bad for all of the stuff that I missed, but at the same time, it also sort of justified why it was that I left in the first place. It was so that hopefully she would have a safer and better world to grow up in.
What is a memory I'll never forget? I remember the last 10 months I was in the service. I was deployed on a Navy amphibious ship, USS Ogden, and it should have been 6 months, but it was extended to 10 months, and we started running low on supplies. And so when we couldn't get to port often enough, the cooks would resort to peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. That never went more than a week or so, but it seemed like it was pretty scarce food. Right about the time that the land war and the Desert Storm started, we were tasked with a raid of a small island in the mouth of Kuwait Harbor called Falaka Island. And what happened was it would get scheduled for a given night, and we'd get all suited up and we'd draw our ammunition and paint our faces and everything, and then it would get canceled. But the thing that sticks out in my mind about that happened like 5 successive nights. And the thing that sticks in my mind about that is the ship we were on, which had no food, they somehow found steak and shrimp that they would pull out every other night. It turns out that they have to reserve a good meal for Marines who go into combat operations, and they have to feed us a tasty meal, maybe our last meal, I don't know, but they had to keep that in reserve. When we thought they were out of food, they were keeping it off to the side in case they needed it, which they ended up needing. So we got 5 days of awesome food, and then that ended, and it was back to peanut butter and jelly for a while.
Probably the most memorable time I had in the U.S. military was September 11th, 2001. We were at sea. I was on board the USS Sacramento. We had just finished advancing all of our chief petty officers, which is a big ceremony we had in the hangar bay. We came down to the shop and turned on the TV set to see what the ball game scores were, because we had satellite TV. And when we turned the TV on, we saw the first World Trade Center burning. And while we were watching, the second airplane flew into the second Trade Center. So we knew there was a problem. We weren't exactly sure what was going on at the time. And 15 minutes later, we got a flash message and went to war. And the rest of our deployment was spent in the operation area south of Afghanistan, replenishing aircraft carriers as they did their missions for the global war on terrorism.
Something that I'll never forget. Well, for one, everybody will remember basic training. That's a time that we go from, or transfer from civilian to the military. One of the funniest events I remember is when I got stationed over in, and my wife can remember this too, when I got stationed over in Schofield Barracks, Hawaii. One of my friends, which is Grubbs, he decided to go with me to pick up my wife and my child at the time. My son was only believe it was like 6 months, 7 months old. And when my wife turned up, it was nice to receive him. And then I forgot to mention to her though that my friend Grubbs, he's from California, and he's a surfer. So when he picked us up, it was kind of a surprise to her because she was waiting for this vehicle, and what she ended up getting picked up in was a hearse. Because the Beach Boys, they use the hearse to go out on the beach and carry around their surfboards. So it was kind of at awe. She just was shocked at first. And the other thing I forgot to tell her too is the coffin that he had in the back was an ice cooler. So it just kind of like freaked them all out. And I don't know, just the memories that I had just serving, Hawaii. Not only in Hawaii, I also served over in Fort Hood, Texas. That was another 3 years. It's just an experience that we'll never forget.
On behalf of the leadership classes of Sunnyside High School, I'd like to thank our staff that have served in the armed forces for these many years. And we're grateful that you are serving us now here at Sunnyside High School. I'd also at this time like to extend an invitation to all of you to join us next week during advisory for our very special Veterans Day Assembly. Please keep in mind this assembly is an opportunity to remember and reflect on the sacrifices of those who have served our country.